Welcome back to our channel, Die Hard Beyond the Gates fans. What a great day it is for us to delve into the absolute, unadulterated chaos that has been unfolding on screen lately. What does Laya want from Grayson? Does he hold a secret that threatens Laya? Let's unravel this madness before our brains completely short-circuit. I've been thinking about this, and there is a massive, glaring issue with the power dynamics currently at play, specifically when we look at the absolute nightmare that Laya has become for Grayson. It is basically a masterclass in psychological torment, and honestly, it is getting to a point where the tension is almost suffocating. Laya is not just a nuisance anymore. She has evolved into this omnipresent force of destruction in Grayson's life. When we first saw their dynamic, it felt like a standard handler and operative situation, something manageable, something with clear boundaries, but now it is like she has completely rewritten the rules of engagement. She is Grayson's contact, yes, but the level of ruthlessness she is displaying is off the charts. It is kind of terrifying how she operates with such cold, calculated precision. She does not just want him to follow orders, she wants him entirely subjugated. This is what's been bothering me about the whole stabbing incident. We all know Laya is the root cause of Grayson getting stabbed. Jordi Villasuso played the aftermath of that physical trauma brilliantly, but the emotional scars are what we really need to look at. Why would a handler push her contact into a situation where physical violence of that magnitude is guaranteed? It goes beyond just completing a mission for the cybercrime organization. It feels profoundly personal, like she is testing his breaking point just to see if he will shatter. And the fact that she orchestrated, or at least facilitated the environment where Ren could drive a blade into Grayson, it is a huge escalation. It is basically telling Grayson that his physical autonomy is completely in her hands. And then we have the cot situation, which is a whole other layer of bizarre. Laya genuinely does not have the time or the patience to worrying about Cot's endless questions. Cot is digging, she is probing, she is trying to understand the mechanics of what is happening, but Laya just brushes her off. It makes you wonder what Laya is hiding from her immediate circle. Although that might explain why this woman is so incredibly obsessed with this plasma ring. The plasma ring, let us talk about that for a second because it is such a weird, specific detail. Is it just a piece of high-tech hardware? Is it a symbol of status within the cybercrime syndicate? Whatever it is, it clearly helps Laya maintain the lavish, high-stakes lifestyle she has grown accustomed to. She needs the plasma ring to keep the funds flowing, to keep her power absolute. Maybe it doesn't matter, but I noticed how Laya's wardrobe and overall demeanor shift whenever the plasma ring or the financial aspects of the cyber ring are brought up. She becomes aggressively defensive, kind of like a cornered animal, but one wearing designer clothes. It is basically her lifeline. If Cot keeps asking questions, Cot threatens the plasma ring, which threatens Laya's lifestyle, which in turn makes Laya even more dangerous to everyone around her, especially Grayson. Laya's ruthlessness is born out of a desperate need to maintain control over her environment. She cannot control Cot's curiosity entirely, so she overcompensates by tightening the leash on Grayson in the most horrific ways possible. Which brings us to the most sickening part of her strategy, Ashley. Laya is starting to use Ashley's safety as a bargaining chip to control Grayson. This is where the show is pushing the boundaries of how much a protagonist can take. Grayson is already physically compromised from the stabbing. He is emotionally exhausted, and now the one person he desperately wants to protect is in the crosshairs. How do you even fight back against that? Laya knows exactly what she is doing. She is isolating him, stripping away his defenses, and holding his heart hostage. The latest threats she has leveled at Grayson are designed to instill pure, unadulterated terror. It is not just about making him comply. It is about breaking his spirit so thoroughly that he forgets he ever had one. I think requesting the latest episode number around that, really highlighted the sheer panic in Grayson's eyes when Ashley's name was dropped. It is a very specific kind of fear. It is not the fear of getting hurt again. It is the paralyzing dread of being responsible for the suffering of someone innocent. Grayson is now trapped in a psychological prison. If he makes a move against Leia, Ashley pays the price. If he stays compliant, he loses his soul and continues to further the goals of this cybercrime ring. How will Grayson face this danger to Ashley? He is basically backed into a corner, and historically, cornered characters either surrender completely or do something incredibly reckless and explosive. I am leaning towards the latter, but the path to get there is going to be agonizing. Okay, I know I just said the opposite, but listen to me. What if Grayson isn't as helpless as he seems? What if his compliance is a slow burn strategy? We have seen him absorb the pain, absorb the threats, but maybe he is cataloging every single vulnerability Leia exposes when she thinks she is in power. The problem is, the danger to Ashley is so immediate and so real that he might not have the luxury of time to play a long game. Leia's threats are not empty. She caused him to be stabbed. She will not hesitate to harm Ashley. The stakes are literally life and death, and the emotional weight of that is just crushing. Meanwhile, completely parallel to this disaster, but intrinsically linked, we have Jacob. Jaiber Horges is doing a phenomenal job portraying a man who is slowly unraveling under the weight of an undercover mission. Jacob is terrified about the danger lurking ahead. He is operating in the dark, trying to dismantle this massive cybercrime organization, but the silence is deafening. He has not heard a single word from Ren. Ren, played by Johnny Carrington, who is not just Jacob's main contact, but also the very guy who stabbed Grayson. This web of connections is so tangled it is giving me a headache just trying to map it out. Think about the implications of this. Jacob relies on Ren. Ren stabbed Grayson on Leia's orders, or at least as part of the syndicate's operations. Does Jacob know the full extent of what Ren has done? Does he know that Ren is the one who put a blade in Grayson? If Jacob finds out that his primary contact is out there acting as an enforcer and attempting murder, how does that shift his entire perspective on the mission? Jacob is worried that a deadly trap has been set, and honestly, his instincts are probably dead on. The silence from Ren is not a coincidence. In this world, silence usually means someone is dead, someone is captured, or someone has flipped. The longer this secret mission drags on, the more unbearable the pressure becomes for Jacob. He is a man who just wants to take down the bad guys and go home to his wife. That is his core motivation. It is simple, it is pure, but it is dangerously naive in a world populated by people like Leia and Ren. He will do whatever it takes to dismantle the cybercrime ring. But that doesn't explain why he would blindly trust someone like Ren in the first place without a backup plan. That desperation is exactly what makes him vulnerable to the trap he fears. When you want something that badly, you start taking risks. You start ignoring the red flags. You start walking into dark rooms without checking the corners. Strange, really strange. The whole thing is strange. Why would Ren just drop off the map? If Ren is working with Leia, maybe Leia decided Ren was a loose end after the Grayson stabbing. Leia does not strike me as someone who likes to leave a paper trail, or a blood trail for that matter. If Ren knows too much about her operations, about the plasma ring, about the extortion of Grayson, he becomes a liability, so Jacob might be waiting for a ghost. And if Jacob is waiting for a ghost, he is sitting duck. How can he possibly avoid a trap if he doesn't even know the shape of it or who set it? The emotional conflict here is staggering. Jacob's love for his wife is his anchor, but it is also the very thing that the cybercrime ring could use against him if they discover his true identity. Just like Leia is using Ashley to control Grayson, someone could use Jacob's wife to control him. It is a recurring theme of exploitation. These villains do not just attack you, they attack the people you love because that is where the real damage is done. Jacob is trying to be the hero, trying to navigate this incredibly toxic environment, but the isolation is getting to him. I am trying to piece together how Grayson's nightmare and Jacob's paranoia are going to collide, because they have to, right? They are orbiting the same dark sun, which is this cybercrime organization. Grayson is trapped inside it, being manipulated by Laya, while Jacob is trying to infiltrate and destroy it from the edges, relying on the very man who assaulted Grayson. When these two storylines crash into each other, the fallout is going to be biblical. Imagine Jacob finding out that Grayson is a victim of his contact, Ren. Imagine Grayson realizing that Jacob might be his only ticket out, but Jacob is walking straight into a trap. The complexity of the betrayals is just mind-boggling. Laya betraying any sense of humanity to maintain her lifestyle. Ren potentially betraying Jacob by going rogue or getting caught. The syndicate betraying everyone. It is a constant game of three-dimensional chess, but half the pieces are on fire. Grayson's struggle to protect Ashley while dealing with his own trauma is the emotional core of this arc. You can see the exhaustion in every movement he makes. He is a man running on fumes, sustained only by the absolute terror of what will happen if he stops. And let us circle back to Kat for a moment, because she feels like a wild card in all of this. Her questions, her poking around the plasma ring. She might accidentally trigger the trap that Jacob is worried about, or she might inadvertently give Grayson the distraction he needs to secure Ashley's safety. It is basically a powder keg, and everyone is standing around playing with matches. Laya thinks she has absolute control, but control is an illusion when you are dealing with desperate people. Grayson is desperate, Jacob is desperate. And desperation breeds unpredictability. The writing in these recent episodes has really leaned into the psychological horror of being trapped. It is not just physical danger. It is the mental anguish of knowing that every choice you make could lead to disaster. Grayson cannot win. If he fights, Ashley dies. If he submits, he loses himself. Jacob cannot win. If he pushes forward, he walks into a trap. If he retreats, the cybercrime ring wins and he fails his mission. It is a beautifully constructed nightmare, and I am entirely invested in seeing how they manage to claw their way out of it. Or if they even can, the tragedy of it all is so palpable. It is just fascinating to watch the layers peel back. You think you understand a character's motivation, and then they do something that completely subverts your expectations. Laya's descent into pure villainy is a perfect example. We knew she was tough, we knew she was uncompromising, but the sheer cruelty she is exhibiting now is on another level. It makes you wonder what happened in her past to make her value a plasma ring and a luxurious lifestyle over human life. What kind of emptiness is she trying to fill with all this power and money? And Jacob, poor Jacob, the pressure is visibly crushing him. The weight of the secrets, the lies, the constant vigilance. It is a miracle he hasn't cracked already. The fact that he hasn't heard from Ren is the catalyst for his current panic, but the underlying issue is the total lack of a safety net. He is out there on the wire without a harness. If he falls alone. And the thought of not returning to his wife is the only thing keeping him moving forward. But it is also the thing blinding him to the immediate dangers around him. Unless, ultimately, we are looking at a masterfully woven tapestry of pain, manipulation, and survival. The cybercrime ring is just the backdrop. The real story is about what people will do when they are pushed to their absolute limits. Grayson, Laya, Jacob, Ren, Kat, Ashley. They are all caught in this violent dance, and the music is only getting faster. I cannot wait to see how Grayson navigates this impossible situation with Ashley and whether Jacob can see the trap before it springs shut on him. The tension is unbearable, and the emotional payoff is going to be massive.